If science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion, otherwise you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
Where you been?
Drunk.
Wendy, darling, light of my life.
What's your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death? Yeah, so fuck up and die.
Yeah.
I don't know any actor in this movie.
There's Zendaya, or what? Is that how you say
I
it?
know.
I feel like I always
yes.
read it, but I never say it.
She brightens your day. She's not dead. It's not Zendaya. I always say Zendaya.
Zendaya, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Zendaya, brightens your day. That's a good way to say it. I feel like Zendaya. I feel like the one blonde dude that played Art. I feel like I recognized him. I didn't look him up though. I should have, but I was like, oh, it's that guy. And then as I was watching, I was like, no, it's not that guy. It's some other guy that just looks like that guy.
No idea who this guy is. No, I
looked
him up.
Gleason is who he looked like to me, I think. Is that one the dude that's in, he's like the main guy opposite Oscar Isaac in Ex Machina.
Yes, okay, that's
I was
yes,
like,
that's
I don't,
what I'm thinking too.
It's
but
not
that guy,
him.
But that guy's like 40,
yeah,
so
it's not him, but I'm like, it's a younger, sexier twink version of him. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, dude, yeah, I mean, it's like, it's so funny. It's like, that Luca Guadagnino or whatever, he loves sexy. He loves sexy people.
I mean, he nails
works.
it,
he only works with the sexiest people in the world.
Good. I hope he keeps.
That's
it
his
up.
contract.
I know. I hope.
I mean, did you see like Queer came out and that's sexy as hell?
I want to see that too. I didn't realize. I saw a thing about that today, and I didn't realize how like weird and surreal it was too. And I'm like, oh fuck yeah! I already wanted to see it because Luca Guadagnino is becoming. He's
dude.
Every movie I watch of his, I'm always impressed. So.
After Bones and All, I was like, okay, he's got range.
Yeah.
He has excellent range because Challengers is like not even
could not be
like
more
it's
different.
like yeah, like
other than
I
can still
recommend
tell
Challengers.
though. You can still tell like because he's got that soft cinematography and like kind of the way he like does it, but it's like so different. Though, it's got
his
such
silence.
A
his silence speaks volumes. That's what he does in his films.
All right, let's calm down. This is the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast. We are the exact opposite of the sexy characters in this movie. Even though I want to do,
he would cast me.
We should do a shot-for-shot remake of some of the tennis matches of this without breaking our body. So we'd have to do some magic because my knee would explode the first time I went out onto the fucking court.
Oh, I know. The second I can't even imagine like he eats like just a banana the whole day, dude. I'm starving looking at these guys. They eat that churro.
The amount of like phallic,
going.
Yeah.
Oh, I know the phallic symbolism is like off the charts, and then them eating. That was actually something I put in my notes. Is like how he has people eat in all of his movies is pretty nuts. Like
that's true.
It's a theme. It's definitely a theme he uses to like elicit like an emotion and a reaction.
I know. I'm just thinking about fucking that finger that chick ate in Bones and All.
Bones and All, dude. That's so cool. Yeah, I love that.
Anyway, so this movie. It's so we're doing, as if you're here with us, we're doing like biggest movies of 2024. We're kind of doing a wrap up of whatever movies we can that are like out and like vote for. So this movie has been getting the buzz. I mean, I remember it came out earlier in the year, and it was like everyone was like Zendaya. Everyone says that all the time, and I just did not get it at all until watching this, which we will get into it.
Yeah, no, and that's the funny thing is like. I really like Euphoria for her and for the drug dealer dude. Those are like the two, main people. I do have my I think I'm just
automatically
Euphoria, but
biased towards someone who just like has one name. And I'm just like, who do you think you are? Do you think you're better than me?
Yeah. No, I know. I'm more like in Dune, she's a plank, and so I just don't get. Fine. I don't understand.
She's 1,000 times better than this, but
this movie, she's amazing. So
I'm not even gonna get into a full synopsis. I'm not gonna do it because if you're here, you've seen it. But for the mom, I'm gonna just say, real quick, just before we dive in so much, this movie is about
it's sexy tennis.
It's three tennis players. Art and Patrick have been friends since they were young kids, since they were like 12. They taught each other how to jack off. They're close. They play tennis together. They meet Zendaya as they're about to go to college, and she is I forget her name. It's like Teachy or some bullshit, but.
Her name's Tashi, but it's
Tashi.
the Dunkinator, dude.
Yeah. They meet her, and she's like a child prodigy or whatever too, and then they kind of like have a weird fling, and there's like it kind of goes back and forth over the years. It's got a non-linear timeline of like modern day. There's some rife between them, and they're in like a tennis competition, and you like find out like Art and her are married, and Patrick, like, they used to date, but now they don't, and she broke her knee, and she's a control freak, and Art's a spineless snake, and Patrick's like a fucking manipulative douchebag, and like they all kind of got their thing, and it's just about them over the years, back and forth, their weird love triangle, and everything's about sex, and except for tennis. Oh wait, no, everything's about tennis except for it's it's a lot of tennis, but
how does the saying
tennis
go?
equals
Everything sex except for for tennis.
No.
Oh wait. Yeah.
So yeah, the whole thing is it's about the relationships, the complex dramas in their tennis. It all amounts surrounding this one big game that's supposed to mean so much for them, and it's going to get them back on the map and so forth. So, but then throughout the movie, the way that it's intercut, you just keep learning the stakes for this game are higher and higher personally until it gets to the end, and it's very frenetic, and then it ends very suddenly, and I hated the ending. But
oh really?
I hated the last 30 seconds. I loved the ending, but I hated the last 30 seconds.
Is it her screaming "come on" or them hugging?
Both.
Yeah.
It should have ended with him like midair, or any of the shots right before that. Like, I didn't need to, because it's like Patrick gets up and wins for him, and then they're like, "Oh, we're friends." I don't know. It was sudden, but also like not satisfying.
I didn't interpret it at all that anyone gave up. I saw it as they both actually played a real stakes. It was the first time they ever played against each other.
Well, true.
As a real stakes, and he beat him.
Well, it was it's like that episode of Community where the fucking they're the debate, and the dude in the wheelchair like flings himself at him, and he has to like catch him, and it's like he jumps over the net practically that Patrick has to catch him, but he wins because of it, because Patrick chooses to catch him, chooses his friendship instead of destroying him, which he could have
instead of knocking the ball back over.
That's what I'm saying.
I think
That's
that
what I'm saying.
I don't know. I interpreted it.
But it was an
as,
impulse.
It's
He
the
didn't
first
do
time
it.
that Art.
Yeah, he didn't do it for her, and like even though she came to him, and he didn't do it because he's like a slime ball. He did it because at the end of the day, it was just an impulse for his buddy. I don't know. It was fine, but I was just like, I almost would have. I don't know. I almost didn't want it now. Like I almost wish he would have edged me. You know what I mean? I wish it would have just edged me.
I know. Well, no, I'm kind of like, I'm someone who's slightly naive. I just assume in like my knowledge of film and storytelling, I assume that it's like, it is he did win and his friend sacrificed it, just like what we just said. But I don't know how tennis is played. Is that legal? Can you do that? Does that count? Did he actually win? Like, I don't know.
I know they seem like sticklers too. So
it seemed like you're not allowed to do that. If you're not allowed to say the fudge word on the court, I don't imagine you could like fall over the net, right, into their arms.
I know they're gonna be like,
apparently this was like real. Well, they wouldn't they? Isn't there a penalty? I have no idea.
Probably.
But this apparently was like amazing. Like if you're a tennis player, this is one of those like well researched, and everything is like continuity and.
Well, it made me care because care about the tennis because
actual tennis. Yeah.
Like what Zendaya, I keep wanting to say Zendaya. Zendaya's character says earlier on that it's just like real tennis is like a relationship. It's like they're in the sink. There's this back and forth, and that's kind of like the whole thing of the movie, where it's like everything is like adversarial and like a game to them, which is why they're also toxic. It's like that's all they know. Tennis is a game and competing. But
that's the thing. Yeah,
it's like
they strive for, and then it's like it's basically Zendaya's character. She like it is kind of like, it's so funny because it's just such a classic, simple. She goes down in her prime, so she feels like she wants to, like, they have that whole saying where she's like, what do you think, I'm going to kill myself, after tennis? It's like, she's like, I'm still going to play and I want to still be involved in tennis, and so like that's like, she's kind of that washed up old coach, but she like married someone who's like, not he's like adjacent to Prodigy, like he's just really good, and so she's like coaching him, and I love that like juxtaposition. It's kind of, this movie's not very subtle in its like character tropes, but I love its like its subtlety in its like romance, because I still don't quite know, like everything Luca does is like pretty gay, and so I'm are they gay?
Yeah.
Like, wait, where they like. They kiss pretty passionately,
but
pretty
this is
decently too. They
even
know what they're doing.
without that scene. This is one of the most homoerotic movies I've ever seen. Like, there's
really though,
so
and
much.
It's funny because that
like
scene doesn't even
being
really
like too physically close. Like, we're good friends, but it's just like, I've never eaten a churro that close to your face. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no,
never
you
dusted
We've
dusted the fucking sugar off your nose and all that. Like,
right.
but we're missing
slow
out.
dance, but we've never masturbated together. So
there's still time.
That's that's the big one.
But
that's where we draw the line, I guess.
I know.
But,
I was honestly expecting
all
more of
it's
that.
just-
There wasn't like, that was like the one scene, and it wasn't even like it stopped before it went too crazy. I was expecting something crazier, but it's like for how much like actual gratuitous sex was not in this movie, it was still like super sexy the whole time. Like everything, it's
super sexy.
Sexy
but
people
Paul
doing sexy
Verhoeven
things.
or whatever he would approve, I'm sure. Like,
for sure.
He'd be down.
So,
but it is funny because I was expecting this to, it's weird. It's like, it's almost kind of more of a younger love triangle. Like, I don't know, just like where Paul Verhoeven would make this love triangle more violent. This did have Luca has look or just more aggression in the love, where like this is kind of cool, where it's like it's almost kind of tragic, like and it's so simple though too. That's what I mean. Like
it's
I loved
real.
how simple
It's
was.
real in this
I could follow
toxicity.
it, but it's the subtext is so palatable, and like the subtext is so thick and drippy, and I love all their their the acting, and like it feels so lived in too, which is great. They do feel like they're buddies. And
well, but back it up a bit. So what were your expectations going into this movie? Because obviously this is both of our first times watching it.
I literally, it's okay. Tennis is adjacent to golf to me, and so I kind of glaze over with the idea of watching a tennis movie. But I understand, like using tennis is the metaphor. That's the whole, like, it's like you can watch, like I watched like Seabiscuit, and that's about like a horse race, but it's like that's about romance.
The one I always go
horse,
to is
it's like
when David Fincher made Social Network. I was like, I don't give a fuck about Facebook.
I straight up put that in my notes. Can we go on record here and look at my notes that I said this is Facebook for tennis?
Yeah,
this is social network for tennis, because it's like it's a movie that I'm like, who in their right mind would even care about making this kind of movie? Because think about it. What, like 2 years ago, or like, or 2023, maybe even last, like, well, or I guess 2 years ago technically. But what was the one? Will Smith in the tennis? Didn't he make one?
There's a couple. Yeah, King Richard was the tennis
King Richard.
one with
Yeah,
him.
yeah. And I didn't see that, but once again, it's like
ask
over.
Thomas. For some reason, he doesn't really like tennis, but he loves tennis movies, and so he's always getting me to watch them. I think he loved this, so I wish he would have came and commented.
Good.
But
well, that's the thing, and I loved this. I love this because there's so little tennis in it. for as much as they talk about tennis, it's like they probably only play like in like what, a 2.5 hour movie, they play like maybe 20 minutes of tennis
if that
altogether.
But,
and so
well, no, I agree, because it's like even that, like, because I liked the tennis in it, but it's because it's like early on, like I said, it's like everything is about adversarial, and it's like suddenly this tennis, like by the end of it, you realize the personal stakes could not be higher. It's like ain't like classic Friends. Like, that's what's so cool about this movie. I think it's like, I loved this movie. Like, the things I really liked about this movie is like really solid. Like this type of story we've seen a million times of like two friends, and then like a girl gets involved, and then it's like
Oh yeah,
a weird
the love
triangle.
triangle is so classic.
It's like
yeah.
there's a ton, and but it's like the characters were so well developed and were so kind of like deeply flawed in their own, like kind of terrible in their own ways, and so it's so interesting to watch just like the back and forth, and like everything's a game to them, and that makes sense with the tennis, and that's kind of like correlates the music too, where it's just like.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started on
the
that.
pump and music playing during the tennis would also play right when they start having an argument. And
Yeah.
I kind of hated that, though. We'll get into that. But that was like one of my least favorite things about the movie is some of the music. But it's like, I get that's the connection it wants you to think about. It's like, that's them firing off. But it's just like, by the end of it, by the finale, when they are playing the most tennis, like 10 straight minutes of slow-mo and like,
Right.
and, but it's like, oh, two fucking childhood friends torn asunder, competing. Oh, and it's like this woman watching that was like tore them apart and is married to the one, but is like fucking the other on the occasion. Like, there's just so much personal stakes. Like, I don't think it's just so dramatic and like almost melodrama kind of way, where it's like, I don't
Yes,
think
definitely.
you could make a higher stakes tennis game without it being completely unrealistic. Like, this is right up to the edge of realism, unless it was like, you play for your life, and if you if you lose, we execute
yeah,
you.
right. You could make a murder ball version.
Other
of
than
tennis or
that,
something.
it's
Yeah,
like
right.
this just spent so long setting that up, and I think it does a pretty great job of that, especially like how it is narratively, because it starts in the present day and it kind of is drip feeding you all the information.
I personally love how it is. It's like the one of my fun facts is that tennis match, the technical, like, the present day tennis match at the tire company or whatever it is,
the challengers finals or whatever,
the challengers, where they're having the challenger. It's like that only takes place over like a day. Like, it technically, right, is just that match, right? They're getting ready for it.
Yeah, that's the final.
And then they have the match, and then like the whole movie is told in pieces between that day. But they shot that over like, I don't even know, like 9 weeks or something to shoot all of that footage.
Makes sense,
because they
'cause
kept interacting with they kept having like weather conditions and like lighting and shit. Everything was like getting fucked up.
Really?
It took them a really long time to shoot that. Like, that like literally just like one day.
And not to mention,
Crazy.
like, some of the cinematography was the most like ingenuitive I've seen from Luca in like pretty much anything. Like, he was getting jiggy with it, man. Like, he's doing some weird stuff. It was like,
I mean,
the glass
if he
plate,
didn't use
like,
the,
under
the glass plate.
the fucking.
I didn't expect the glass plate,
Not at all.
so I was really down with that.
Loved
I
it.
loved the POV. I
POV
knew there'd be a lot of POV
of the,
stuff
of them, and then of the ball.
of
It's
of
too
the
cool.
ball, of the racket. I
Yeah.
knew that I was expecting those and hoping that we would get that, and then it was executed like perfectly. So I was really excited about that. I did like how they did it, and it was just enough too, where it wasn't like gimmicky or wasn't getting like being like
It
ad
was
nauseum. Like,
it
I
was
afraid
starting to be too much. Not
yes.
not the cool shots, but like that final scene, like no dialogue. It's like, all right, we get it. But that's when it felt like, I'm like, okay, everything's about tennis, but then tennis is about sex, because it is like,
right.
it's like, oh yeah, it's like they're just absolutely pouring sweat in slow motion, and it's just like, boom, 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 and then it's like cuts to her, and she's just like for 10 straight minutes.
Yeah.
It was pretty dope, but it was like right to the edge. I'm like, all right, can we please? But then I almost hope it just ended and edged me like that, instead of just having that one, like, because it does feel like when she's like, come on, that's the nut. You know what I mean?
I didn't really like the come
It's
on,
fine.
but I liked them embracing, and I think it should have just cut the black there. But like, I don't know though. I mean, it's like, obviously it's satisfactory for everyone involved.
But that's the thing.
three of them,
There's too
you know.
much. That's what I'm saying though. It's like why I didn't like it is there's so much history and so much complex drama between these characters, and like so many ups and downs, mostly downs and backstabbings. But like to be able to wrap it up in 10 seconds. I'm just like, just leave. You can't. I feel like there's no world. That's why I'm kind of fine with it. Is because I don't think there's a better alternative. Like, I don't think there's a way they could have really wrapped it up. And I would have liked it if they would have cut sooner, but everyone else would have hated it. So I agree that it was probably the smarter choice to have that, because it is like a tension release valve. I do feel like I would have to go fucking crank it afterwards if it didn't do that, because of all the sweating and build up of fucking like the last 20 minutes. But I don't know. The ending, and then like I really liked like the match at the ending, but like the first half I really loved the structure, but then the second half the structure got a little lost in the sauce when it was going to like the day before and then like Atlanta.
Yeah. No, right. That I got a
like
little confused, but I think it was kind of fun though. Honestly,
it was fun, but they could have like
I liked the continuity kept up just fine.
Yeah, that's
but
fine.
I do feel like it was a disservice to have the title cards, because the title cards weren't consistent, and so I kept being
That's
like,
true.
it would just say like August or something, and I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, what? But then I'm like, oh wait, I can tell by their clothing, their age, and like the issue that they're all having at this time period, in this scene. I know what time period it is, but like I almost like we didn't need the title cards. I think just they actually like wizards, dude. I wonder if they used like the Irishman, fucking software, but like they made them look young. I was laughing a little bit because I'm kind of like, okay, they're 18. I thought they were like 22 or something, and then in the present day at the Challenger, they're supposed to be like 29 or something, 30.
Yeah, like 30-ish.
She says it. Like, you can't be a 30-year-old and playing this or something.
Yeah.
And but so it's like they seemed older, but it was subtle, and I liked that a lot. But it was like subtle, but like very, very obvious to tell how they were dressed. And
It was
haircuts and stuff.
it was effective, but it did feel like they the younger stuff was fine. They did a good, like Patrick, he looked older, and it's like a lot of it had to do with just his facial hair and stuff. Like it
his
was a big
beard. I know,
difference.
right. That helps.
But
Yeah.
Zendaya, they like put her in a pantsuit and cut her hair all short, and it's like she's a boss. She's a bossy business bitch now. It did feel like, and I'm sure Zendaya is like she's like late 20s.
Oh,
I'm sure.
Yeah, she's probably like 28 or
She
so.
probably
I think we looked it up
is
because I
that
thought she was like
age.
35 or something. But
She probably is that age, a little younger than us. But like,
yeah.
it's like it does feel like they put her in dress up and like, all right, let's make you look like a grown up for once. Everyone knows you as that bratty teen from that show you did with the one name. Let's
know, right?
let's
Well, and then-
lean into it.
And then in Dune too, it's like it's not. She's like time. It's sci-fi, so there's really no. She doesn't look like a certain age necessarily. I mean, she just looks because of her, like soft skin. She looks.
I'm glad.
young.
Yeah, no, it's true. And it's like I'm really glad because it's like I'm glad she can act. Because honestly, and I mean, like, don't get me wrong, there's good stuff in Dune, and I watched like barely any of Euphoria, and it was fine. But it's just like the amount of people. I remember when Dune came out, like the amount of people going to see Dune because she was in it, and she was barely in the first one. Like, I just did not get Zendaya at all.
I feel bad. I feel bad for those dates.
I know, right?
the people who went on that date.
Like, Zendaya's in this movie, but I'm like, okay,
yeah,
who cares? Like, she's whatever, and she's got one name, so what? She thinks she's all that. I don't know what it is, but I definitely rolled my eyes at Zendaya, especially the poster is just her face, and so I'm like, I don't want to watch this, but I like Luca Guadagnino.
Well,
I like where this is. I like him.
I do
so
like the
faith.
poster though. Actually, if
No,
you
I
look
do
at
too.
the poster a
It's
little
cool.
more detail,
The
I
high
like
contrast,
her glasses.
yeah, them in the glasses. But
no, I like that, but I understand it's kind of silly because it's not even that I don't know. I don't feel like this is one of those movies where it's like there's no main character unless it's like tennis. But no,
Sure.
so you can't really like pick, one. I feel like they do a really good job at kind of like blending everyone together. Like Zendaya's obviously in it less, but
right. Well, I'm saying
such a,
like she's
titular
like the big
character.
name, and like is a main character.
right.
But I'm glad that like after like 20 minutes, she stopped being Zendaya to me and started being Tashi, whatever, Duncan or whatever the fuck. And and then like once she was really in it, like near the end, I was like, oh yeah, like I kind of forgot that it was her. Like she became this character who's like this fucking, ambitious fucking control freak. And it's like kind of great. Like, I don't know, she crushed it. They all obviously crushed it. They were all great. All
They
three.
do. She did such a. That's the thing.
But I was
we were
just,
saying
I'm
this
just
off
like,
air,
I
we're
had
like,
low expectations for her because I kind of
Yeah.
was just like, I guess I'm just an old jerk. But like now I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get a Zendaya tat, and I'm gonna be going to see Dune 3 opening day for Zendaya.
I'm seeing. Well, that's the whole thing. I'm
Fuck
gonna start seeing
Dune.
Spider-Mans.
Yeah. Oh wait, is she in Spider?
Oh,
yeah, she
yeah,
is.
dude. She's.
I didn't
yeah,
watch any.
she's-
I didn't
yeah,
watch any
dude,
of those
she's in
ones. The Tom Holland
No,
ones.
right. She's in the Tom Holland. She's like, that's the whole reason everyone's seeing her in Dune is because she's got the MC, dude, or whatever.
I am a grumpy old jerk. I'm just like,
I know,
yeah, Zendaya with her one name and Spider-Man's. Like, I watch that shit.
I know, yeah. Yeah, you do sound like the old drunk uncle that's just like, back in the day we used to watch Paul Verhoeven movies where he murders the women.
I know. But yeah, no, she was good. That's the thing. It's like I was expecting.
But no, okay, so yes, I really liked her in Euphoria, but she does play. It's kind of weird. Like she's good at her character, but the character doesn't have range, and so I was kind of just expecting her to be one note. But in this film, she is amazing. Like I was blown away with how subtle she could be, and how she would stand up for art, and be like, he's my husband. I don't, but then Patrick would be like, no, like you love me still.
You want
and
me
I
because
was
I'm a slime ball and I know like
right.
I know who
and
you
yeah,
really
like
are.
we're equals, like on how like shitty we are. And then like her acting in those scenes, I'd be like, oh wow, I really can't tell. Like I'm like, does she want him or is she with art? But then I'm kind of like, oh no, there's some subtle like facial cues.
She
where, like,
loves to
I'm just like,
hate him, man. That's what it is. Like,
yeah, right. I'm like, and she wants that Patrick Dong, dude. Like I just
she
know
did. She
it,
did
man.
say
Like,
she's got a big old dick. So.
She did. Yeah, she was like, you got a big dick. Dog,
Well,
and
and he walked into that sauna like he was gonna beat Art to death with it.
No, the sauna scene. I was
brutal.
honestly
Like,
like
it made
I
me
didn't
so
know
uncomfortable.
I didn't know how erotic he was gonna get with it, and so like in the sauna scene, I was like, "Are we gonna see dong? Are we finally we've hit the apex, and we're gonna see a couple more rackets? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when he lays, dude, when they lay the towel over his crotch, and it's like there's so much like inseam. Oh my god! It's, I recommended this to some people at work, and now I'm like, oh,
I
don't watch it with your mom.
recommended that to that 14-year-old.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I think that's the one thing holding this movie back for me. I might go back and change my rating, but on Letterboxd. But like, the one thing that they would get in these scenes, the sauna scene is a perfect example. That got tense, where they like Art quit being coy, and he's just like,
Well,
"You're
they're
fucking
quippy,
nothing."
too. It's great.
Yeah, it's like.
Right.
You think Patrick's gonna throw it down? He's like, I mean nothing to you, and he's like, oh, I don't play that game anymore. Like it's like not as between the lines. It's straight up aggression, but just like when Patrick and Tashi get in that fight and they break up, it's like right as when it's happening, the fucking crazy techno music comes in, which as far as techno music goes is pretty good because it's fucking Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross or whatever.
Right.
It is pretty good, and especially the one track at the very end, like during the climax, is pretty dope and fits the scene. But like when that techno would come in during these arguments, I'm like, you're taking away from this performance, and it's distracting,
kind of, right?
And that was like my biggest thing. I'm like, I know you wanted to connect it to the tennis and like have it be all energetic, but it's just like they're doing like these very subtle, underhanded fucking. Like the dialogue and the fucking jabs are just like all these like subtle, underhanded, passive aggressive jabs, and it's so good. But then it's like then you have like and I'm like wait, what? Come on, like I feel like this would hit this line, this cold ass line would hit so much fucking harder in a room of silence, But I do wonder what the choice was because obviously they use this like techno music the whole movie. Except in the night before when she sneaks out to go meet with Patrick and be like, can you throw the game? Then it's like some smooth, like classic Italian song or Spanish song. And it's very classical, very fits more what I would expect from like Luca Guadagnino than what I know of him now. And I'm like, I almost wish there was more of that. You know what I mean? 'Cause
I
that-
wonder though, dude. You're making me think. I should have marked it down, but I can't remember. Did they only do that upbeat techno when it was the two dudes? Like
No.
when they had their
No,
they were
'cause
arguing.
that's what I was
he would
saying.
do it with Zendaya too.
when the one that really bothered me earlier on was like when Patrick and her they're in the dorm room and they're about to bang, but then she won't stop talking about tennis. And he's like, "Can we just like actually be boyfriend and girlfriend? And you quit trying to be my coach." And she's like, "I only give a fuck about tennis, so get out." And then she like breaks her knee that same day. But that whole argument was like, boom, 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 boom. Once it started popping up, and I was like, "Come on, man! Like this is like just watch it be heated." Like, so totally different movie, but like, did you ever see Marriage Story?
No. But I really want to.
It's
obviously.
really good, but there's an argument scene that feels so real and so raw between the two lead, Adam Driver and fucking Scarlett Johansson. Or whatever.
Scarlett, yeah.
And but it like builds up and comes into like this actually kind of like full blown screaming match, but it's like a long scene. And it's so impactful because there's like no music and it just feels so real and so raw. And it's just like you're so focused on this fucking dynamic, which is what this movie's about. They even say like, it's a relationship. Everything's about the dynamic and the relationship. That's what tennis is. And I'm like, that's what this whole movie is about these connections. And it's like, right as these scenes are really starting to fucking ramp up and you're having these intense moments and you're getting really like locked into it, then the music comes in and threw me out. I don't know. It probably works for some people, but it's just like, it bothered me in those scenes. I liked it for the tennis stuff and I get what they were doing, but it didn't work for me. And I think that's honestly was a big like impact. It took me out of it every time. Every time there was an argument, it did that.
Yeah. I know, weird. Yeah, I guess the argument worked well enough, and like the
That's true. It was still good. I was just thinking, wow, I really wish this music wasn't playing right now because this would be really good just in silence, honestly.
For even just a couple beats, but like I feel like it worked. I don't know. It landed so well though for me every time. So I don't know. I think I'm kind of on the other. I'm on the other.
That's fair
spectrum of it.
But like that's the thing about this movie in general, and what I really appreciate about old Luca is I respect, even though I think it was a miss for me, it was still a swing. You know what I mean? And it's like this movie is so ambitious for what it is, for being just like a fucking love triangle type story that we've seen. It's like it goes hard, man. Like
and
it pushes.
It feels fresh too.
It does,
it feels fresh,
which is crazy. It feels surprisingly fresh, right? Like it goes hard, it pushes it, and it does some fucking kind of out of the box shit, and it looks beautiful while doing it. And the editing, bro, in this movie is. I'm trying to think if there's a movie.
That's what I wrote in my notes.
Editing, because holy shit, the editing in this is so good. So effective.
I wrote in my notes that it's editing. Editing is good, but it's the blocking.
Yeah.
Every scene, there's so many. I'm trying to think. It's that first time when she meets him, or not first time, but when she decides to go to the hotel and meet with them. That the blocking of all that scene and of the orgy, which they're the three-way that they don't have, but which is so teased. I really thought they all had sex in this movie, and so. But I actually kind of liked it. I was so uncomfortable. I was like, oh no.
That's what the ending was. They all finally fucking got after all those years. Yeah. They all finally came in their pants because it's like that when she's like, "Come on!" It's like, "Come on, the fucking tennis court." Yes. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. But anyways, the blocking in that scene especially, and even before that scene when they're at the beach and they're just having a cigarette and hanging out. It's like that's when I first was drawn to the blocking in this film, and it really is. It's the camera work and how it's the editing and the continuity between the characters' movements is phenomenal. And it looks great. I love all the framing of it.
The editing has such a rhythm that fits the music and the rhythm of this movie because it's the way, especially the tennis scenes are edited together. When there's music, it's like music video style. It's so
right, and that's almost like cheating too because
it's cheating.
They're editing
a little bit.
They're editing it into action, and so that kind of you're already getting a leg up. I feel like there's scenes that are super tense that aren't
both,
that aren't
which
on
is
tennis.
So good.
Right, Right. Exactly. It's almost like that's what's nice. It's like it's not just like, oh, the tennis was cool and that, and the rest of the movie was kind of bland. It's like the whole movie had some really good stakes. Like I loved when they're at the hotel and Patrick and Zendaya are like there at the table, and he comes down and like gets distracted by a fan and then like turns back and like they're gone, and like that editing with the music and everything is like
That's great. That was good.
And that's cool because it's like it's very tense, and there's such a good back and forth that I loved it. One funny thing though is like the tennis balls are like 100% CG.
I was wondering. I'm like, they have to be.
The
They're
tennis
too
ball,
perfect.
It was 100% CG because it was too hard to film. They tried shooting it with real tennis balls, and it was too.
There was
like,
a couple times I'm like, that's just too perfect. There's no way. Like,
No, I mean there were so many times because it's just like CG is so noticeable. It's all right. This is our CG rant. We need to have like a old man CG corner.
this
like,
old
we
man CG
complain about it
corner every time. Well,
every time.
I'm not complaining here because this is a perfect use of it, right? Like,
No, exactly. No, it didn't take me out of it at all, but every once in a while the ball would come right towards the camera and then disappear, and I'm like, oh.
I hate that ball.
I was like, yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, that ball went into the digital world. Like it's gone now.
Turned into pixels.
But
about the cinematography a bit, and just like the overall feel of this movie and all his movies. I've just talking about it just now. I was like, all of Luca Guadagnino's movies are different, but like you can tell they're his. And I think the one thing that you can tell is that he does all his movies feel incredibly intimate, like no others. Like they make these things, like everything's so personal. It's like not only it's like the soft grain that is in like the cinematography and like the way he does. Not only wide shots, but then like uses the effective use of the close up of like not only facial expressions but like hands and shit. It's like takes these things and it just makes him. That's why he's so known for like doing love stories, which is why I kind of like that he's kind of almost shifted gears in this one. And it's like it's hard to call this a love story, even though it is like kind of it's like almost an erotic thriller in a way. I don't know.
Right, definitely,
an erotic drama thing, but. It's but it feels so real because in the scenes where it's like, when they're being close, it's like does such a good job, especially the friends, Art and Patrick. It's like there's so many scenes where it's just like them so close, and it's like the small movement when he like pulls his chair forward with his foot, and like they just have such a like a camaraderie that it's just like when you want someone to be close, it's like almost like there's like more depth of field. But then when someone's being distant, like Zendaya is like hating on Art, it like does feel distant, and they're like not in the same frame together. You know what I mean? Like that's just good filmmaking, man. Like that's just good filmmaking.
Really, his use of color too is phenomenal. I mean, that's like in fucking Call Me by Your Name. That the color in that is beautiful. That like. It's got such a dreamy quality to it, and like in
sorry, I opened my phone and it was still that picture of Clint Eastwood. It scared me. It jump scared me.
Oh my god, dude! I'm going as Clint Eastwood for Halloween.
You're gonna have to lose like 200 pounds.
You're just
be a skeleton.
I can do it by Halloween, man.
Anyway, sorry. That was
as current Clint Eastwood.
I got jump scared. I know, when you wear like just a skeleton costume, and you're just like, who are you supposed to be? Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll pull it up Reddit.
Oh.
Go
do not besmirch his name. But I'm saying color works beautifully in all of his films because Bones and All, that has such a grimy, disgusting color, but yet like it's so like blue, and it feels like his like backwoods kind of middle America
Bones and All
type of film
is my absolute shit. Like,
it's my favorite movie by him by far, obviously. And that's what's so cool is like he pushes the boundaries, and that's what it is. That's why we call this like almost an erotic thriller, is because it feels like it's pushing the boundaries. Like his tension is so amazingly palpable and so like thick that you're like at any minute I was afraid there was going to be like a strong bout of violence.
Yeah, like an escalation, right?
Yeah, escalation for sure. And
especially because
that's
his
what's
movies,
so good.
he's getting better at like blending it. And that's why Bones and All so good is because it is such an intimate romance, but also a freaking
Yes.
horrifically brutal cannibal road trip movie. But,
yeah, right.
but-
And like it's so supernatural. It's so cool. Like I love it.
Well, even the fucking in this movie, the just close up shot of her knee, just like coming out, like
yeah.
just the practical. They just probably had a fake knee on set that they broke or whatever for a close up. It just like made me cringe so hard, man. And I'm like, he does. We know, based on his experience, that he does like that realistic violence so well that it's like with that knee pop and then the tension of this relationship, I wouldn't be surprised if it took a trip. Yeah. Like, I'm surprised at one point that like, you know, Patrick didn't like get like more in her shit and like grab her and get like kind of crazy with her. Like any one of them though. That's the thing. If Zendaya started fucking slapping Art around, I would not have been surprised, man. Or if he
I was
kind of
waiting for her.
Like I was waiting, man.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. This whole movie is just gets you right on it, right on the edge. Both like, is it sex? Is it violence? Or is it tennis? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like it's all of it. It's good. I don't know. Talking it over a bunch. It's like contextualizing my thoughts.
I gave it 4. I give it 4 stars, which is
4.
funny because I like 4. You know, 4. I feel comfortable with 4. So
I gave it 3.5, and then I moved it to 4. But it's just because, like, I did think the back third was a little messier in the structure. It never lost me, but I just felt like some of it was kind of unnecessary. They probably could have.
I didn't really like the storm. This is what I guess this is what I mean. I didn't even talk about the storm, but like that's what I mean by like he's not subtle. He's just really like he's just a strong filmmaker, but he's not like he doesn't have subtext. But it's weird. Like he doesn't have subtext in story and plot, but he has so much subtext in character development. And
exactly. That's true.
Relationships. So it's like the fact there's a storm brewing outside and then the music. It's kind of it's almost a little silly that they're there, you know, out in the storm. Yeah. But it's like
such a melodrama. But you say,
right.
It's like, but then there is a lot more subtlety in the performances and the character.
The conversations in the car when he like picks her up and he's surprised that she came and then she's just like throw the game and he's like fuck you like you know it's. And then there's so much more in their dialogue and their looks and their relationship in that car. But then like the storm is outside and you're kind of like, the storm.
And it's inside their loins, you know. Like
yes, it is. Oh well, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know. And then the music thing. That's the one. Like that's. I honestly,
I liked the music because it's very like Sofia Coppola where like it's not even appropriate for the scene. But I like it, you know.
Well, I honestly think that like this isn't like I would watch this movie again someday, and I do think I would probably the things that bothered me the first time around I don't think would bother me the second time around. I would hope. Because I do think...
Yeah. I mean, you know they're coming.
That's the thing. I do think a lot of it has to do with, like, conventions and, like, how I want something, which is not necessarily fair to, like I don't think it... Like, again, like I said, it's, like, that's just personal taste. I don't think it's, like, a mistake or a flaw in the movie. But it's just something that didn't click with me, but tastes change. You know what I mean? And knowing something is going to happen a certain way... And then watching it again, knowing that, I can usually appreciate it more with like a more analytical eye. And so it's like, I think most movies should be watched twice. You know what I mean? It's like,
I know. Oh, for real. Yeah.
Most movies, because it's just like expectations.
I mean, we've been saying that forever, though. Honestly,
forever.
Like,
we always say
you have to watch a second time because it's like you will 100% get more out of the film. For better or worse, you can solidify the fact that you don't like it, or you can find things to appreciate.
There's been quite a few movies we have watched again that I'm like, I'm so glad I watched that again. I was able to like appreciate so much more now that I kind of know the direction it was going. I can appreciate the setup and like the writing more. But then there are movies like the one that comes to mind is like Live, Die, Repeat. Was that Edge of Tomorrow? Where it was like first time we watched it, super dope, and then we watched it again for the podcast and we were like excited to watch it, and then we're like, you know what? That movie's just not is fine. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's fine. Yeah, right.
But those are the two times. Those are the two times that it's like, first time is like this popcorn experience. Second time, it's like, oh yeah, it did what it did strong, and then it's it's cool, I guess.
Right.
But
And I'm kind of curious about this. If I'm gonna, because Social Network is a movie I actually have never seen again, or if I have, it's not.
Oh, really?
Not with my full intent. And so I'm kind of like, we'll do like a Fincher month.
Social Network's like a fine wine. I've watched it probably like,
Yeah.
10, I don't know, 10.
I mean,
9,
I'm
10
sure.
times
I'm
probably.
sure I've seen it. I had to have seen it again. I liked it a lot, and so it's one of those like, I just I want to see it again with like, my intent. So
Every time I
We'll-
watch,
we'll do
you know how I feel about this tangent now. You know how I feel about David Fincher. I was like, that was one of the dudes that got me into filmmaking. I was like a huge David Fincher stan. Every time I watch Social Network, I'm like, this is his best movie.
That's what's crazy. That's what's crazy to me. I got because I when we left, I didn't like it, and so like I've seen it twice then because I remember liking it. I remember coming around to it. But anyways, I want to watch it again.
It's so good.
It's been a decade at least. So.
Fincher's the man. Yeah, we'll do I don't know how many
Maybe
Fincher
or
movies
whatever.
we've watched, but we ought to, Anyway,
We'll
do
do-
you
we'll do a month, yeah.
I know it's like this 2024 business is hard for like two reasons. It's like
Oh.
a lot of the movies I want to put, we can't watch yet. Like I want to put Brutalist on a list, but there's nowhere to watch it here.
Right.
But also the finances are still going. So I was going to ask you about Money Minute, but it's just like, I guess this movie
this is
not that new.
No, this movie is actually from 2023. This is one of my fun facts. This was going to be released in like August or September of 2023, and the writer's strike got in. And so
That makes
the
sense that
writer's
Queer
strike
came out too,
pushed
because
it.
I'm like, this guy,
Yes.
how is he doing
No.
two movies?
And
like
do you know what
this?
this did? Do you know what this did? This sent me down the rabbit hole of how many directors have released two movies in 1 year. Because I was telling Victoria, I was like, oh, this was like, because the fact that this was supposed to be 2023 makes more sense to me now. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, cool. Of course, it was already done. He had it in the can. He actually had it like edited and ready to go. He was like done with the movie in 2023. And so it's like, it's just one of the things where I'm like, okay, of course, he had enough time to, build his new movie and shoot it and do everything for 2025 or 2024. And so like, I just was like, oh my god.
What's some of the other ones? Was it The Ghost of
that's-
Clint Eastwood?
No.
Because I'm pretty sure he
It
puts
is
out one every
Clint
year.
Eastwood.
Yeah, dude.
No,
it
Clint
has to be
Clint
right.
Eastwood did. Clint Eastwood did two. Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, that's
Someone-
track. Some
there's
older
another-
ones might
there's-
track because they
but
used to
there's-
just crank
There's only
them out
like
back then.
19. Well, that's the thing. And back in the day, though, it's a little different because you were contracted to do a movie, and then sometimes they would do it like in like a. What is that called? Pseudonym or whatever? What's the under a fake name?
Yeah.
But then but not so like secret. It was just kind of like, oh, it's not. He's under contract. And
Yeah, exactly.
Shoots this movie. But there's not that many, and there was a lot more older ones. But really, only like nowadays, no one. You don't make a movie. It's like it's more so 20 years go by and then they make a movie.
That is more likely these days.
Rarely does a director.
20 years go by and then
release
you
two
make
in
a
year.
legacy sequel because you don't know you want to be relevant again. Like what's that director we were just talking about it a few minutes ago before this? Anyway,
Yeah.
the one that surprised me. Anyway, do you have a Money Minute?
Yeah. On this one, it's pretty simple. It was $55 million to shoot, and then it made $96 million back.
So wait, you're telling me because we were just talking
Then-
about Nosferatu. You're telling me this cost
Yes.
more than Nosferatu?
Yes,
Zendaya.
more. I know. Literally though, that's probably what they paid
Probably.
for. Because dude, Nosferatu is like such a beautiful set, man. It's such a. I mean, we'll talk about Nosferatu at one point.
And I'm like,
We'll do it for a bonus episode for a pod.
Well,
for,
the amount
Patreon.
of virgin blood they had to soak the film in to get it to
I
look
know,
so
exactly.
buttery.
That's
Just
the only
Robert,
way it's
Robert
authentic,
Eggers,
yeah.
man. I don't know what he's doing to that fucking film grain.
I don't,
because
dude. I don't know.
He's
No,
got
he
a
literally
guy
found some.
that's just like
Yeah.
actually a fucking vampire underneath the fucking Hollywood Hills or something.
No,
that just is like,
no, dude. I guarantee you, it's like they found an old shipwreck and it had just
It's
old,
got- dude,
old
it seems
ancient
like
film
it.
because
Swear-
it's like
swear to
cursed
God,
film.
swear to God.
Just God, it looks so beautiful, dude.
yeah, Nosferatu's great. All of them. So I got a couple Reddits. Let's you ready? So, Hirley says, I loved it. The visuals, the amazing soundtrack, the chemistry of the characters, and the innovative editing made this movie feel so refreshing. Right, short and sweet. It is. It is innovative. The editing was dope.
The editing is really good.
Toll Brandier says, I just couldn't care. I tried. I didn't like any of the main characters. I didn't care what they did or what happened to them. So it felt very disappointed. I had read great things from critics, but just can't agree with them. Zendaya is superb in it, though. She excelled at being toxic as hell. If there is a reason to watch, then I would say she's it.
Yeah.
I can agree with some
I
of
like that take.
Yeah.
It's the melodrama. Once again, I can totally see it's hard to get, like, you and I, we vibe with this. Like, that's we love like when a character is a little deeper. Where there's
well, like for example, my wife, she doesn't like watching a movie. She needs to emotionally connect with the character. So it's like she kind of has to like that character. And so if a character does something bad or abhorrent or something that's like makes them deeply flawed,
gray area, yeah.
Then it's just like she is not invested anymore, doesn't like it. So it's like, yeah, these are all bad characters. And so I could if you need to be emotionally invested, but like from a writing and just like character study point of view, I was like, I loved it. But like my wife, we were watching she quit watching Mad Men because, like, you know, she's like, I like this, but Donald Draper just cheats too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, all the characters are bad. So she really doesn't like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
She fucking hates. She thinks it's the worst show ever.
I know
she doesn't.
I know.
She's like, I don't understand why you like this. It's so dumb.
I know.
I'm like, that's the point.
I figured. But dude, no, it's crazy. If you wanted characters, if just the actor change would have gotten you excited, it was supposed to be Austin Butler and Timothy Chalamet as the two leads.
I mean, these guys did great.
These guys were amazing, and I actually appreciate them kind of being like quote unquote no names, like not like it's really nice to like see somebody
Austin
who I
Butler
didn't.
and Timothy Chalamet are superstars. That it's just like,
but seeing them together would actually be really cool in this movie.
Zendaya,
even though Timothy Chalamet is in every single film that's ever been made.
Zendaya, she because she is such a big name, like she did kind of distract me. That's why I was glad that when she became the character. So I'm glad it didn't work out that way. But also, I just don't know. Like Timothy Chalamet is just like such a little sexy twink, and Austin Butler is just such a big sexy boy.
Oh my god, I know. Yeah.
It would be weird to have them have this chemistry together because I'd feel like the one is just gonna overpower the other. Like these guys.
He's
like obviously
he's a power bottom for sure.
Like Patrick is a little bit bigger, a little bit sturdier, and he's got the big thick dick apparently. But it's like they're a little bit more of a back and forth. But it's just like.
They look like they can hold their own against each other, but no.
I'd be scared for Timothy Chalamet's churro. You know what I mean? So yeah, but God, can you imagine that? Just the three of them making out.
Oh my god!
Fucking internet would implode. So then I got one more. I bet you can guess who it's from. So Clones of People 2 says, first watch. This was on my radar after really enjoying Guadino's film during Horrortober. I'm mixed on this. It had aspects that I liked and some things that annoyed me. I liked the narrative structure is good and the film is well told. It's paced pretty well and the way it was feeding the plot developments was engaging. The characters are well built and there's a lot to dive into. It almost plays as a love triangle with Tashi being the third wheel. I disliked the score. I get what it was going for, but I have to say I like the score, but when taken by itself. But I found that it really pushed an energy into the film that felt like it was changing the tone far too much. I see that's the thing that got me too.
Yeah.
The last 30 minutes, it just went on, and we all knew that she would sleep with Patrick, and then he would do the sign on court. Overall, it was worth watching. Strong characters and a strong artistic vision. The things I disliked were maybe more personal tastes. 7 out of 10. That's just my secret identity is Clones of People too, because that's just exactly.
I know, right? Really though, you're like Elon Musk, and you just got your own. You're commenting to yourself. Yeah. But no, dude, thank you. That was a great comment.
Yeah, thanks.
And I actually,
as always,
you just blew my mind though with that Clones of People too. I didn't know if she was gonna sleep with him, and that's what I really liked about it. Like it's like the whole like doing the sign on the ball. I kind of thought that would come up, but I thought she wouldn't sleep with him, and then. Or it would be ambiguous for us as we wouldn't see them embraced and actually like post-coital. But I was like, that's what I was kind of hoping, and I kind of wish that happened. That'd be a little stronger. I feel like if we didn't know, and then he does the ball sign, and then it's like subtle to where you're like, oh shit, like they did sleep together, but like bonkers. Because I didn't believe him originally when he does the sign and he like nods, until like they're in a relationship. I was like, no way they fucked, and then they did, and so I don't know. Yeah.
No, it's true. I know, but then that would require someone rising above and being a better person, because it's like, and I think that's why.
No,
because
I like their character choices. Yeah.
I was expecting too, because during that scene, like when Patrick's like, "Fuck you, fuck this, you bitch," and all this, and like he's just like, I'm like, oh okay, he has this like moral, like not moral ground, but it's just like he has a respect for himself at least, that he's just like, I'm not gonna throw it away for you, but then he's just like, I'm a slime ball. That's who I am. And then he turned it around, and it's just like, you expected it, but you hoped that they would be better, but they aren't. And that's kind of what makes them such good tragic characters. It's because it's like the ending, they do kind of like put it aside, and that's kind of the thing, just in that brief moment. Like the drama doesn't go away, but in that moment there's just like, they're vibing, all three of them, they're in the vibe, and that's why it kind of clicks so well at the end. But it's like, the fact that it's just like, I don't know. That's what felt so real about it too. It's just like, I know guys like that. You know what I mean? It's like, I've been sort of like that in my early 20s, and it's just like, I know people that are just skeezy, like just being skeezy, and like, just like fucking, like, I don't know. That's what's so tragic about it too, because we're used to in films of people like growing and changing and evolving and becoming better and like overcoming the odds and all that shit. And it's like, in this movie, they don't ever really. They just kind of like backstab each other, and like they.
And if Art wins at the end, it's by chance, necessarily, more so. Like,
and if Art wins, he wants to retire. He's still in a toxic relationship, and it's like his friendship is still ruined. Like,
Yeah, and it leaves us to like speculate that like maybe Art will have the confidence now, because that was like a big through line, is like gaining confidence through this win, and so now he'll have confidence through this win to leave Zendaya, because it's like, she's a whore, and so he's like, oh, I don't want, I don't want, like, I don't want to be like taken advantage of and used, because like, you're with Patrick, and Zendaya probably won't go with Patrick, but who knows? Art probably won't, because he's like a belt, and he buckles or whatever. Like,
I do like that, because he is such a like.
It leaves a lot for us in the future. Like,
he's just like, tell me what to do, but then like, which is what she thinks she wants, but now that she has it, she doesn't want it. But then like Patrick is like, be my coach, and she's like, no way. But then it's like, like that's the thing. That's what she wants. Yeah, it's like, she wants that.
It's because she has the hot. Yeah, she has the hot, fiery passion with Patrick, but she kind of but she can't rein him in either. So she can't be his coach, because she wants to be his lover.
Well, that's why it's so good. It's the dynamics of these characters, because that scene when the quote unquote three-way, when they're all making out together, and she just kind of it's like, all right, now you two.
I know. She
like lean backs and like lords in a way, and I'm like, that's her character, man. Like,
dude, she went with her whole family to watch this movie, to screen it, and so and in that scene, I thought she was gonna get boned down. Like, I really didn't know. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I didn't know how far they would go. And her family didn't either, and they were squirming in their seats, dude. That sounds so funny. That sounds so funny to go see your daughter just in this movie, and you're just like, oh, what the fuck? You're like, Jesus, and then
drinking beer with these two bad influence boys talking about how they masturbated together.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Anyway,
it was great. It's great.
Cool.
They're great characters.
Yeah.
See it for the characters.
I like it.
Stay for the sweaty tennis.
I like it. That's the thing. I'm just like, Luca, man. He's firmly. I mean, he's been on my radar for a minute now, but he's firmly like. I'm always at least impressed with what he's doing, even if he doesn't 100% click for me. I'm always impressed, and so I'm like, I gotta go actually watch all of Call Me by Your Name. Gotta see Queer.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I
really
want to see
Queer really bad now.
Yeah, Queer looks awesome. Yeah,
it looks great.
Like, I love his dude. His like you said, he's just got such a interesting, like, he's got such a tenderness, but he pushes the boundary up there to where, like, you just anything can happen.
And it gets kind of weird with it.
I love that from a creator.
It's the ambition too.
Yeah,
it's the ambition.
But he does have like a really nice. He's perfect in the pocket because it's like this is a movie that I'm like I honestly like my mom could watch this movie just fine and she would enjoy it.
On paper, I should not like this. You know what I mean?
No, right, exactly. Like all of it is working against me, but as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, it's good, and it really is.
Social Network.
It's his direction. It's his direction. Right, exactly. Yeah, but
all right. Well, that was cool.
Support us out there, everybody. Thanks for making it this far.
If you're on YouTube, subscribe or whatever, and do all that. And come to the Reddit. Come talk to us. We are voting. I don't know what movie is going to win for next week because we're doing 5 movies. 2024 for January. We're going to do 5 movies. So next week, you'll know tomorrow when this comes out. Hopefully we'll know. It's either going to be Civil War or maybe Dune Part 2. We will see. So check in for that. See what movie it's going to be. And then we'll be back next week to talk about it.
Hell yeah.
All right. Goodbye. Bye now.
Bye.